Hello again. This is Arch Eats, a podcast about the dining scene in St. Louis, but also about the local food scene as well.
This episode of Arch Eats is sponsored by Proper Cannabis.
My name is George Mahey, alongside my co-host, collaborator, consummate pal, confidant. That's all the alliteration I've got today.
This is Cheryl Bear, and we are feeling peachy.
And followers of Archie's know that we share the same brain and we crave a lot of the same foods. So it's August still in St. Louis, and we are both immersed in summertime tomatoes, corn, and peaches. We can't get enough of peaches. And neither can our guest today, Chris Eckert, big boss man at Eckert Farms in Belleville, a name that's synonymous with peaches in the metro area. Later, we'll discuss a troubling occurrence involving the use of credit cards in restaurants. But before all that, it's what we can't stop thinking about this week. And you are obsessed about a new place that recently opened in West County.
Oh my gosh, George. It is like Willy Wonka Chocolate Factory meets I don't even know what. It's so over the top. There's a new restaurant in town called Melt and Dip. And it's a dessert restaurant, exclusively desserts. I drove by and I'm thinking, do they just kind of specialize in desserts, but they have other things? No, it is an over-the-top dessert extravaganza. That is the only way to describe it. The place is right off Manchester Road in the middle of Baldwin, just in a strip mall. You wouldn't think anything of it. You walk in. It is a bustling party. First of all, you're greeted with three multi-tiered chocolate fountains. There's white, a dark, a milk.
And that was the photo you used, and I thought, uh-oh, this is going to be trouble.
Yeah. And I'm not talking like a tabletop chocolate fountain. I mean, I don't know, what would you say, 3 feet tall, 4 feet tall? They're big.
So what, are people just up there dipping things in it, or is it just for show? What's the point of that?
It is not for you to personally dip in, but the servers pull from the chocolate fountains. Basically, what you do is you select how you would like to enjoy your chocolate. Would you like it on a waffle, in a crepe, part of a fruit platter, over some brownies, over some gelato, just by itself? You can do anything there. They have every flavor combination you can imagine, every sweet treat you can imagine, and then they give you all these chocolate dippers, and you can mix and match. You can just go with one. It's almost like a fondue party, but like
sounds like it.
A fondue party meets over-the-top desserts. I can't even tell you what this is like. You have to experience it. I've never seen anything like it.
And ever since day one, the place has been a madhouse.
Packed. I went on a Tuesday at, 7:30 p.m. The place was packed, and this is not a small restaurant. It takes up 2 storefronts of a strip mall. It's really large. It has lofted ceilings. So you would think, my gosh, is this too much space? Not at all. What's really fun about it, too, is there's people of all ages. You have 20-somethings on dates. You have kids. You have grandparents, families, friends. It is the biggest party in St. Louis right now.
That's great. And in full disclosure, Melt and Dip is a chain. There are a number of units around the country. There is a local franchisee who has committed to do several more in town. So there's one in West County, and I guess from the success of this, we're probably going to see another couple of these fairly soon.
We probably will. And the thing that's interesting, the way the corporate structure is, they only allow for one franchisee per state. So if he wants to take it to Kansas City, he's the one to take it to Kansas City, Columbia, Jeff City, wherever. So he's not only looking at St. Louis, he's looking throughout the state, but he really wanted St. Louis to be his flagship.
He's probably champing at the bit with all the success.
Oh my gosh.
He's probably ready to roll.
It's so exciting. And it tastes good. It's not just a spectacle. I think that's important for people to know. This is high quality, delicious stuff.
What I can't stop thinking about is not quite so dramatic as that, but it's pretty darn cool. It's a new appetizer, brand new at Clover and the Bee in Webster, and it's called Seafood for Two. And what it is a seafood sampler. And I was talking to Chef Mike about it. He said, you know how you get all these seafood towers and these 3 layers of raw bar goods, and it's $100 or $150. It's just out of control. He goes, I want to do something that's affordable. So For $22, you get this cool little platter of stuff. And there's some scallop ceviche with lime zest that he actually torches and puts a little texture on with a torch. There's 2 deviled eggs that are topped with salmon roe. Delicious. 2 broiled oysters topped with Calabrian chili breadcrumbs. They were great. And 2 very plump toasted raviolis that are stuffed with chopped salmon.
No.
And a soft bagna cauda butter for dipping.
Oh, my
And
gosh.
all this, the 2s are wild, 2 of everything, and it's $22, and it's designed for 2 people. And I just think it's brilliant. And he said, you know what? As soon as I put this on the menu, I knew I had something. This is something that will probably never go away. We may change the items on there, but you will see this seafood for 2 on the menu at Clover and the Bee for a long time.
I don't know about you. I am feeling 22, George. That's a Taylor Swift reference for anyone who didn't catch it.
No, it went. Did you see it go sailing over my head?
Right. No,
Yeah.
but
And I could have talked about the peach and prosciutto appetizer at Clover and the Bee. Cheryl and I, we've talked about those before, and peach and prosciutto is just an excellent combination. We'll be right back.
Want to win free edibles for a year? This August is Honeybee Month, and the search for the golden ticket is on. 5 golden tickets have been hidden inside Honeybee chocolate bars. Find one, and you'll score free edibles for a whole year, plus an exclusive tour of Honeybee headquarters led by Chef Dave himself. Stop by any proper dispensary for special Honeybee deals and a chance to find that golden ticket. And now, back to the show.
Well, we promised a podcast about peaches, and who better to address that subject than Chris Eckert, the president and CEO of Eckert's Country Store and Farms. It's part of a 7th-generation family farming legacy in Belleville, Illinois. It's August, and we're right smack dab in the middle of what I understand is a record peach harvest. No better time to welcome Chris Eckert to Arch Eats. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much.
Congrats on the record harvest.
Well, thank you.
Let's start there. Let's talk about that. How does that happen? Is it just perfect climatological conditions, or do you nudge that along some way?
That's more our nudging than anything else. We're just growing more peaches. So there's more
That
acres of
helps.
peaches in the ground. And if we're not setting records, we're in trouble. So that's mostly what's going on. And in fact, this year is not a full crop of peaches. We did lose a little bit of peaches due to some frost and also some bad pollination with all the rain we had early on.
I was
in the
going to
spring.
say it was too wet.
Yeah. So we've got about 75% of a crop this year, which, is not great, but good. And yet we still have
Record harvest.
Yeah, and we have more to go. So I'm hopeful that future years are even going to be a bigger harvest for us.
So since this bumper crop is here, has this forced you and your family to think up new ways of using peaches or seeking out new markets? How does all that capacity get absorbed?
Yeah, I think the biggest way we absorb that capacity is by looking for new customers in the wholesale avenue. So that has been manifest with Whole Foods up in Chicagoland. So we've been shipping them a couple semi-loads of peaches a week.
Is that new?
We've had a relationship with Whole Foods in the St. Louis market for a long time, and we had shipped Whole Foods peaches some years ago, but we've had 2 years in a row that we've had really bad peach crops because of some cold weather in the winter or in the spring. So we had gotten away from selling peaches to the Whole Foods Chicago outlets. And so now we're going back in. They've actually expanded their store network up there and added Amazon home delivery in the Chicagoland area. So that was been a good boost for us to be able to get back in with them and introduce peaches back into the Chicago area.
Let's talk about the general climate for raising peaches, for growing peaches. I remember hearing about this some time ago. You guys have been cultivating peaches for 7 generations in Illinois, but Georgia peaches have been around for as long as anybody can remember. It's the peach state. But I read that the weather down there is changing so much that Georgia peaches eventually may become a thing of the past, that the whole climate for peaches is heading northward. Is that a myth or is that true? And does that concern you being a peach grower in Illinois?
Climate change is something farmers have always dealt with because climates aren't stable. We go through ebbs
Right.
and flows and different things through the generations. So adapting to that is part of our job, and we've had to adapt to it in the past. So currently we're seeing that changing climate affect us again. And yes, Georgia's facing challenges getting enough cold weather to fulfill the dormancy period for peaches. And what happens if there's not enough cold weather, they just don't have viable fruit buds for the spring. That said, things are also being developed, peach varieties that need less chill requirements. So to say that Georgia's going to be done growing peaches, I don't think I believe that anytime soon, but it does challenge growers' profitability because anytime things change, your yield is going to be affected negatively. And that is really costly on profitability. So, it affects a lot of growers who might just be forced out of business because their production's cut for several years and they can't weather the storm. And that's true here in Illinois and the St. Louis market as well.
Yeah, it sounded somewhat sensationalistic when I read it. It's like goodbye, Georgia, hello, Tennessee kind of thing. And I thought, well, that might be a bit much. So
Yeah.
kind of overstating the case. When you guys harvest peaches, I've always wondered this, is this all handwork or do you guys have like a giant tree shaker that takes the peaches down? How does that work?
I wish there was such a device out there. No, everything that we grow is harvested by human hand. So whether it's a peach or an apple or a blackberry or a strawberry, all of those crops are harvested by hand. And labor is probably the biggest challenge we face overall, having enough people to harvest and care for our crops, but also just the growing cost of labor is making it really difficult to make the math work in horticulture in the United States.
Yeah, I'm sure. I saw some peaches at a farmer's market the other day, and they were really big peaches, the biggest peaches I've ever seen. And I'm wondering, are they as flavorful as their smaller cousins? Or somebody said, oh, with all this rain we've been having, these things tend to blow up and you kind of dilute the flavor when you increase the size. Is that true at all? By the way, I bought one and it was pretty darn good. I didn't see that was true.
So I have a lot of theories on this. And first of all, the best peach is a fresh peach. The closer you eat it to the tree, the better it's going to taste, no matter what size, color, anything else. The fresher it is, the better it tastes. So buying from a farmer's market that, had a farmer harvest it that morning or the previous day and bring it right in, chances are that's going to be a much better tasting peach than one that was shipped in from California or South Carolina or Chile in the winter. You've tasted those peaches. They don't have much flavor left in them.
Right.
So the fresher it is, the better it's going to taste. Size has an effect on flavor, but size is determined by multiple things. First of all, it's how many peaches were on the tree from the beginning, because there's usually way more blooms on the tree than you need for a full crop of peaches. So a lot of the labor that we spend in the orchard is actually removing blooms and fruits from the tree so they aren't all in competition with each other and produce golf balls. The second thing that happens is the weather after bloom. If it's a cool month following bloom, that tree is less stressed. It generates more cell division in the peach, and it's going to be a larger fruit as a result.
I had no idea.
And the third result is driven by rainfall in the last month of the peach being on the tree. So the wetter we have the months of June and July, the bigger those peaches will become. And sometimes that's when you can get that dilution of some of the sugars if they just blow up with water at the end. Also, a lot of other factors go into it.
And the chef told me that, and we were talking about this at one time, when you encounter a wintertime peach or a peach that doesn't have as much flavor, you can overcome that a little bit by roasting it, by grilling it, by taking some of that moisture out of it. And I never thought of that, but it makes perfect sense. And I've had peaches on the grill, and they're dynamite no matter what condition the peaches are in. Do you do that at your house? Are you a peach griller, or are you a traditionalist and you just take a big bite?
I'm pretty peach spoiled, so I eat at least one every day while we're harvesting because, like I said, the best peach is a fresh peach, and I want to enjoy it as many days as possible while we're picking it. So that is my preferred way, just having a warm peach right out of the field and just eat it by hand.
If you encounter a rock-hard peach in a grocery store, is that inherently a bad thing? I mean, a lot of them seem to ripen just fine, and a lot of them will ripen up and be a little mealy and not ideal. Is there any secret to picking a perfect peach out of the grocery store?
Well, you mentioned two things there, firmness and mealiness. Those are two different factors. So every peach that is going to be harvested is going to be harvested firm. Otherwise, we would just throw it away because it's so tender, it would not handle the process of being put into a box. So you do want to harvest your fruit firm but fully matured, meaning the background color is yellow. There's no green left on the skin of that peach. Now, mealiness is going to be driven by how long that peach has been in storage. And that's what's called internal breakdown. So the actual enzymes in that peach will go to work and they first break down the acids and you taste more of the sugar. When they get soft, that's what's happening. You're actually not generating more sugar. You're just reducing the acids in the peach, and it allows more of the sugar to come forward in the palate. But if it's stored for too long, and especially at temperatures around 40 degrees, it expedites what's called internal breakdown, and it just makes it kind of fall apart internally and taste like cardboard. So you really want to make sure that peaches are stored really cold, below 35 degrees, or above 55 degrees.
But as a consumer, there's no way to guarantee that.
No.
It's a bit of a crapshoot.
I think it's pretty much guaranteed that if you buy a peach from Chile, it's going to taste like cardboard.
Okay, good to know. Another thing that I encounter, are clingstone peaches still a thing? I mean, most of the peaches that I see from you guys are freestone peaches, but occasionally I'll come across one. I go, boy, I can't get this peach pit out. It's because it's a clingstone peach.
Yeah. Early in the season especially, we grow some cling varieties only because they ripen faster than freestone varieties. So the first peaches that we're picking are clings, and then we will shift into freestones by the end of June. Now, I say freestone with a little bit of tongue-in-cheek because those early technical freestone varieties are a little stubborn.
A little clingy.
They want to stick to the pit, and you really have to let them soften on the table completely, and then they will peel off of the pit with a paring knife or something like that. But not until you get to mid-July do you get to the really, honest freestone peaches that just fall off pit easily.
Good to know. You're a seventh generation, so you grew up in this business. I mean, you were probably picking peaches when you were like 3. Do you have memories of the farm, memories of growing up, or picking peaches when you were 3? Where did it start? How did it start? And do you have any anecdotes you can
Yeah,
share?
I was a pretty ornery child, so there's quite a few stories that especially my sisters like to tell about me. But, we grew up on our farm in Millstadt, and I spent my whole childhood just playing pick your own. Had my toy tractors, and I would set up tents and take people out in my yard like I was taking them out to pick apples or peaches. But one particular story regarding peaches, we had a peach orchard at the Millstadt farm, but it was just for harvesting peaches for our store. We did not have pick your own. Inevitably, people show up to the Millstadt farm because they picked apples there the previous fall,
Right.
and they come out in July or August to want to pick peaches. When I'm 5 years old, 6 years old, and I said, Bob, we could sell you some peaches. So I took family right out to the orchard to go pick peaches, and I took their money and weighed their peaches, and they had
It's a
no
nice
idea.
side job.
Like, what? Yeah, so I got in a little trouble for that one.
So this has been all you've ever done, right?
From early on in my tenure in the business, I've been involved with things like the National Peach Council, the North American Bramble Association, and I'm currently chairman of the board of the Midwest Apple Improvement Association, which is an organization that a group of farmers came together to develop new varieties of apples that are particularly well suited for the Midwest farms. So Evercrisp is an apple variety that we developed out of that program that we're really excited about. But there's a list of about 10 apples that we've developed out of that breeding program and are really proud of.
So you said that peaches are your favorite pick-your-own fruit. And you do a lot of pick-your-own fruits over there at Eckert's. But what is your favorite way to enjoy a peach? Is it just taking a big bite, or do you have a special dish that you create? I'm always looking for different ways to use fruits.
There's 3 ways I enjoy eating a peach. First and foremost is just fresh and warm out of the field. I don't think you can have a better peach experience than that. My second favorite is with frozen custard. So having a peach concrete is really good, but I have to be very careful not to eat too much of that.
They're
because
so good.
It's easy to get carried away. But the third and probably one of the most nostalgic things I love in peach season is a peach custard pie, because Grandma used to make those every peach season, and I love, just the way that tastes and the memories that it brings up.
I'm getting so hungry. Do you have any fun facts? What are things that people need to know about peaches that they don't know?
Well, I know a lot of factoids about peaches, but they originated in China. China's still the largest producer of peaches in the world. In the United States, the per capita consumption of peaches has dramatically gone down in the last 10, 20 years.
And why is that?
I think it's because most of them are bad when you eat them. And it goes back to the other fact that I always talk about is that the fresh peach is the best peach. And it's really important to try locally produced peaches because they are going to be a very different eating experience than anything you've ever had.
Let's talk about that. Over at your orchard in Belleville, the Pick Your Own. What is that season for peaches? When can you pick your own? When does it begin and when does it end? I know it's somewhat fluid.
Yeah, it depends on the year, obviously, because things bloom different times and that affects when we start and when we finish. But typically, it's about the 1st of July through the 15th of August. So it's about that 6-week period. And there is when we have the best supply of peaches. We will have peaches in our store a little earlier than that and a little later than that. But Pick Your Own is available that time. Now, we sell way more peaches in our store than we sell Pick Your Own. July and August isn't always the best outdoor experience with our weather.
Right.
So a lot of times people just say, I'll let you do the work and I'll take the peaches that are here picked for me. And truthfully, most of the peaches that you see on our counter in the store each day were hanging on a tree that morning.
That's important.
We're picking every day, packing those peaches every day. So they're very, very fresh.
Do you guys sell white peaches?
We used to grow and sell white peaches, but we have not for several years. The demand was very minimal and it gets complicated because they get mixed up. People can't see the difference, obviously, between one and the other. And the demand wasn't enough to go through the effort of keeping it all separated. We used to grow nectarines as well, which
I was going to ask you about that.
I love nectarines, but nectarines in particular are a struggle with our climate and some of the diseases brought on by rains that we have here. So we have not found a nectarine variety that does particularly well for us.
Interesting. A question from Cheryl Bear, who's on vacation. Do peaches ripen faster if placed in a brown paper bag like other vegetables and fruits tend to? Is it a myth or is it true?
It's an old wives' tale that does not expedite the ripening. What you're trying to do is fruits give off ethylene gas. And so if you hold that gas around the fruit, it could expedite the ripening process. That is not the case with peaches. What's really happening with peaches is they are going through an internal process and it's softening the flesh of the fruit. It's not really maturing more. So you don't need a bag. What I always tell people is do not refrigerate them unless you absolutely have to. The best way to store a peach is just on your kitchen counter and let them soften over a period of time. They won't all soften the same day. So typically you take a box of peaches home over the course of 4 days. Those are all going to be nice and soft and you can eat and use them over a period of time. I also tell everybody, don't buy so many at one time. Make several trips to the store over the course of the summer. Again, going back to the point, the fresh peach is the best peach. So you want to get that fresh eating experience as many times as you can while you can, because it's a fleeting experience. It's only here for 6-8 weeks in the summer.
Do most people eat the fuzz or do most people peel that peach in your experience?
Well, my observation is most people eat with the skin on. And of course, a lot of people want to wash that off a little bit so it's not so fuzzy. We wash all the peaches that are sold in our stores, so they're brushed a little bit. So a lot of that excess fuzz is removed already. But of course, when you're out in the field picking it right off the tree, it's all there.
Right.
So you might want to rinse that off a little bit so it's not so itchy on your lips.
And for those people that want to take the fuzz or the skin off, is there a way to just take it off with a paring knife, or like I do with a tomato, plunge it into boiling water and then into cold water to shock it and then the skin comes right off? Does that work with a peach?
We find the best way to do it is just with a paring knife. And especially if you have a serrated blade paring knife, you can peel a peach very, very quickly. It's relatively painless and goes fast.
One question that came up a while back, and I've never heard anybody address it properly. Apparently, you can use the seed kernel inside of the pit for some culinary uses. Do you know anything about that? Is there any way that you can think of to use the peach seed?
I am not aware of any way to use the peach seed. And in fact, I know that you have to be careful with peach seeds because they are somewhat poisonous. So you don't want to just eat them raw. So be careful with that before you just dive into it.
That's interesting. So besides being synonymous with peaches, Eckert's grows, and we alluded to this, all kinds of fruit and vegetable crops. You got 600 acres over there, I think, right? And you've got a farm market and a restaurant and a garden center. And what I read was the largest pick-your-own fruit business in the country. Is that true?
Yeah, it's a unique situation for us because we operate multiple locations around the St. Louis market, and we also have a location in Lexington, Kentucky.
Wow.
That's not the normal setup for people in the pick-your-own business, but because we've been in operation for a long time and just evolved and grown over the years into this multi-location effort. But the business of the decisions we make and what fruits we grow is based on getting people to the farm more weekends in the year. So we grow strawberries because they ripen earlier in the year.
That's your first pick your own,
And
right?
we grow Christmas trees because it's going to be holiday season. So it just gives people more reasons to come out and experience the farm and harvest different products.
And you can find all that on the website. It starts with strawberries and then it goes into other berries. I think there's raspberries, blackberries, black raspberries maybe.
Black
For
raspberries.
about a minute. It's
Yep.
a
Very,
beautiful,
very delicate.
beautiful fruit. Then there's peaches, then there's apples, then there's pumpkins.
Yep.
Then there's Christmas trees, I guess.
Correct.
But you guys have the tomato crop over there. I didn't know. Is there a pick your own tomatoes too?
We did an entire vegetable garden, pick your own vegetable garden for, 6 or 7 years. And we just stopped that this past year. The value was not large enough to justify the cost of growing it. And it's heartbreaking to me because we loved doing that. It's just like doing your produce department in the field. You just take a box and go shopping for all the
That's
different
so great.
stuff. But I would also say that things like tomatoes and peppers have struggled with the additional rainfall we're seeing in the summer months here in St. Louis. Tomatoes in particular just do not like wet, warm weather. So growing tomatoes in the field, I think, is kind of going to become a thing of the past
Interesting.
in this environment. So we are growing tomatoes, but all the tomatoes that we have today are grown in greenhouses so that we can protect them from the rain, and they're grown hydroponically. So they're beautiful tomatoes, but it's not an environment that is conducive for pick your own. It's a very high density and expensive growing process. So it's not really meant for families to go in and pick.
But I know the berries are pick your own, and somebody told me about some kind of contraption that you have that you use to grow raspberries.
It's called a rotating trellis. So it's not mechanized in the sense that it's automated. This is a trellis that pivots on a central axis, and our team has to go out there and rotate this trellis over. The purpose for that is positioning all of the, what we call canes, in the case of blackberries and black raspberries. We position the canes parallel with the ground in the spring when they bloom. And as the blooms emerge, they want to grow towards the sunlight. As a result, all the blooms orient themselves on one side of the plant. And then once bloom's over, we rotate that back over. So now all of the berries are hanging on the bottom side and they're protected by the shade of the leaves on the top side. And we have a wall of blackberries to go out and harvest. It's amazing the response our guests have when they go see it, because it's really something to behold. I mean, it's literally a wall of fruit, and it makes it very easy to harvest. Even if you're 3 years old, the blackberries are growing a foot off the ground, so you can harvest 10 pounds of blackberries in 10 minutes. It's an expensive process to do this. The trellis is expensive, the training is expensive, but the value in terms of the speed of picking for our guests returns on the investment. So that's what keeps us going on it. It's just an incredible experience.
Fascinating. So somebody's never been over to Eckert's. Play tour guide. How would you direct them to come over and enjoy a day or a few hours? And I know it depends on the season, but just paint the perfect scenario of an Eckert's experience.
I think the first choice is choosing which farm you want to go to, because each farm has its own distinct personality. We have our farm in Grafton. It's right up the river road, just outside of Grafton. So if you're looking for a day drive and having this beautiful scenic experience going up the river road and a fall day, see the foliage, well, that obviously is a perfect experience. It's going to be a more quaint farm. It's smaller. It doesn't have all the hullabaloo that we have at some of our other locations. If you're looking for a real theme park experience to spend with kids between the ages of 5 and 15, our Millstadt farm is more suited for that, because it is a full admission entertainment park, and we have corn maze and pig race and slides and haunted hay rides and a lot of fun attractions where you can spend 4 or 5 hours with your entire family doing different things and pick apples, pick pumpkins in the process. Belleville is kind of a different beast. It's open 12 months out of the year, so we have a lot more seasons to celebrate there. And it's where our restaurant and country store and cider shed are located. So it's going to be more of a commercial experience. So, there's more amenities, better parking, things like that. But it also has the most crops. So that's where we grow strawberries, blackberries, black raspberries, peaches, and then, of course, apples, pumpkins, and Christmas trees. So it just really depends on what you're wanting to do on which farm you go to. But plan on spending multiple hours at any of the farms because it is an opportunity not just to get fresh produce, but it's a way to really see how things are produced. You can see where your apples come from, where peaches come from, and educate young people about what agriculture means.
The first time I went to Belleville, I didn't really know what to expect, and I spent a whole lot more time there than I thought I would, and it was all completely worth it. But there's a lot going on there, right down to the custard stand. You have those great custard with the fresh peaches in the summertime.
It's dangerous.
It is. It's awfully good. But I know that even as we get into the fall months, there's obviously some pumpkin harvesting going on there. But you've got something going on, I think, this year that you've never done before.
We do. Yeah, we're very excited about adding a new lighted spooky attraction to our Belleville farm this fall. It's going to open on September 13th. It's called Jack's Lighted Trail. So it's a half-mile path.
It's a walking trail.
It's a walking trail. It's not going to be a true haunt where people are going to jump out and scare you. It's more of a photo opportunity and nighttime kind of a fall experience. Perfect for all ages. Perfect if you don't have kids. Perfect if you do have kids. We're going to have a little bar out there.
I know. It's called a Spookeasy.
Yep, the Spookeasy.
I wanted to say it before you did. That's so awesome.
And you'll take a wagon ride to get out to the trail. And like I said, a half-mile trail is probably about a 30 to 45-minute experience out there. And then come back, and we have live music in our cider shed, and we'll be open till 10 o'clock at night in our store and cider shed. So it's going to be an exciting opportunity to really showcase the farm in evening hours at our Belleville location, which we've not been able to do before.
It's awesome. This has just been great. Eckert's in all seasons from, the earliest of the growing season in the springtime right to the Christmas tree season. You can always find something to do. And you can always find this on your website, and all those farms are listed in the same place. It's
Absolutely.
very, very conveniently tabbed so that you can figure out, okay, I want to go here. I should go there. Let's go to Millstadt. You guys just do such a great job over there, and I always have a great time going over there and picking fruit. Just love it. Chris Eckert, Peach Guru, and a whole lot more. Thank you, sir, for joining us on
It's my
RG.
pleasure.
Thank you. Well, next up, here's something we're not feeling peachy about. We're going to discuss something that's back in the news, and namely restaurants adding on incidental charges at the bottom of guest checks. Back in the COVID days, they were doing this various charges for employee insurance and different miscellaneous things. And now, though, what's in the news, it's passing along the cost of credit card fees. What do you think of that? Do you think restaurants should do that, or you think they should just stay away from these little incidentals?
So,
I'll tell you what I think.
well, I don't like it. I'm the first one to say that to me, the problem is with the credit card man and not with the restaurants. So I will give the restaurants a little bit of grace that I understand they're being gouged. However, as a consumer, I find it to be a little off-putting an itemization of charges. Like, I don't see on my bill line itemed out, like, this is our electric cost, this is our health insurance cost, this is our credit card cost. It would, to me, be a lot easier to swallow if it was incorporated into the price.
Like it usually is, like it used to be.
Yes.
And a friend of mine had the perfect answer to that. He said, I don't want my guest check to read like my cell phone bill.
I love it. It's true.
And it is. And that's true. You don't want to be nickeled and dimed. I think it's wrong. But that said, increasingly in all sorts of retail situations, we're seeing the option to pay cash or to use a debit card or to use your credit card and pay that extra 4%. The good news is I learned that businesses cannot make money doing that. If they're charged 4%, they can charge you 4%.
Okay.
They can't charge you 5%.
Yeah, I was
So
curious about that.
at least there's some saving grace there, but I'm with you. I think it's just the cost of doing business. Roll it into the cost of your menu items. So we'll just have to see what happens, but you're going to start seeing these on more and more guest checks, so just get ready for it. Have your debit card handy or bring some cash. Hey, that's all for Arch Eats this week. Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us and share with your friends. And we always provide links in the show notes for everything you heard about today. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and follow along on Instagram at St. Louis Mag. And feel free to give us a follow personally at George Mahey and Cheryl A. Bear.
If you loved what you heard, show us some love by rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. And if you're hungry for even more content, you can subscribe to our dining newsletters for the freshest coverage on the local restaurant and culinary scene.
That's it for this week. Best dishes, and see you next time.